We have reached a milestone. This is our 10th video. And in this video, we are going to take a look at a very simple yet powerful concept, and that's about trend lines, supports, and resistances. Come, let's take a look and let's understand how we can make use of this age-old classic concepts. Here we are. As you can see, I have the daily chart of Reliance Industries plotted over here. It's a basic candlestick chart. And the first thing, we're going to break this video into 3 parts. In the first part, let's talk about trend lines. And then in the next part, we will talk about supports and resistances. Yes, and their usefulness. And the third part of this video, we're going to talk about the concept of polarity. So let's begin with trend lines. Trend lines. So it's made up of 2 words, a line, which is trying to display or make us understand that there's certain kind of a trend. At its core, what exactly is trend? Trend is essentially a drift, either on the upside or on the downside, or there can be flattish trend, also range-bound oscillation and fluctuations of price, and they do not really trend either upwards or downwards. Is it necessary and important to figure out what's the trend? Yes, definitely. You must have heard that saying that trend is your friend, especially if you plan to do short-term trading. Then it's always very, very useful to stick to the underlying trend of the market. So the intention is to understand, is there any trend in this chart? That's a simple question. And how am I going to answer this question? With the use of some technique, and trend line is one such ancient, classic, but useful technique. Trend line, you would know the formula, y is equal to mx plus c, just in case. So it's essentially, this particular line can be a horizontal line, can be a vertical line, can be a line which is angling up. It has got some angle on the upside. And of course, it can be a line angling down with an angle on the downside. These are the 4 different types of lines that we can draw. But which one should we draw? What highs or lows should we choose and why? Right? So there has to be a certain degree of consistency in our drawings. So let's begin to draw few trend lines which I can make sense of on this particular chart of Reliance on the daily time frame. Now, TradingView on the tool section, if you come over here, they have a lines section. Can you see this? And below that, there will be a lot of stuff. They have many things. Then they have channels and they have pitchforks. And then if you've read some basic books like John G. Murphy's Technical Analysis of Financial Markets, I think there's a chapter where he talks about speed lines and fans and all those things. This is a high, I can understand. This is a low, I can understand. This is also a low. These are more or less lows and highs, I can visually understand. You can use the concept of fractal to pinpoint highs and lows. Now, at this juncture, where we are in this playlist, fractal is a concept that I can include right now. It will help you. Fractal high is essentially a level which has 2 highs to its left and 2 highs to its right. Fractal low is a low wherein it has 2 lows to its left and then 2 lows, higher lows to its right. If you're a user of TradingView, you can come to the indicators section and you can type a fractal and you will find some pre-built indicators, fractal indicators. But this concept is by Bill Williams. So TradingView has an inbuilt indicator called Williams fractal. If you plot it, it will give you these arrows. I personally don't like it because the size of the arrows, I cannot change them. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to do this exercise once more. Try and plot this one. These arrows are much smaller. And there you go. These are the fractal highs and fractal lows. Now, together we can make some sense that, listen, whenever I'm planning to draw a line, I'm going to draw and join these fractal highs only. Then there'll be some meaning to it. So let's try and do this together. This is where the chart is at the current juncture. Let's go from right to left. Let's go from the present and let's go back on the left hand side of the chart towards the past history of price movement. And let's find out where were these fractal highs and lows. There might be many of them depending on the price behavior. Let's start with the lows. To draw a line, how many points do you need? Y equal to mx plus c? You need 2 points. And so I can come to this indicator section, go to trend line, come to this more or less this low and join this low. Yeah. Double click on this and say extend right towards the right. And because I'm joining the lows, I'm expecting supports. So let's say I give it a green color or a blue color so that the color coding will make me understand that this is a support line. This is from where if this stock comes down in the future, I can expect, it's not that it's going to give me, but I can expect some support. Make sense? Now, the concept of trend line needs drawing and redrawing multiple times. So can I draw with these 2 points also, which will angle something like this? Yes, why not? You can keep them drawn. And then like this, if I keep on going to the left, and then I see, okay, there is this another low and this another low. Let's try and draw this. Let me just draw this and try and make some sense to this particular trend line. Now I've drawn this with this and this. Now it was broken, then it managed to bounce, and then it broke again and so is this trend line that we drew just now using these 2 points, did it have any relevance? I'm asking the chart. Did this trend line really offer any good support or not? Well, not really. It got, broken couple of times and managed. So when you draw and redraw multiple trend lines, you might have to delete the old ones and move ahead, drawing fresh ones as you move forward. Make sense? So for Reliance Industries at this juncture, these 2 support lines with the lows make sense. Now let's try and draw them with the highs. So I can see already quite a few highs. Let's draw the obvious one. Let's just draw these 2 highs, let's say. And let's give it a color of, let's say, red, so that we understand stories. We have drawn a trend line, joining 2 highs. These are proper fractal highs, and they're angling up, all right. But does this make sense? What do I mean by this? The stock is trading at around 1405. This trend line, which is drawn from the highs, is essentially a supply line or a resistance line. And if price goes up in the future sometime, whenever it will go all the way up to the trend line, then you will face resistance. Does this narrative make sense at this juncture? No, right? So is this a trend line? Yes. We have drawn it with fractal highs and all that. Everything is fine, but it's not relevant at this juncture. So try and draw relevant lines. For that, if you're new, you will be drawing and redrawing. You will figure out their relevance, and it's gonna get, of course, better with time. With that, I'm not going to delete this. I'm just going to shift these. If I had drawn this, does it make sense? No. If I had drawn this, would it have made sense? No, not really. Which means that I have to go all the way up here. And if I do this, no. This, however, still is a relevant 2 highs, and the stock has just recently broken out. I can draw these kind of lines also, but again, they will not have much relevance. Once you've done this on the daily time frame, you can go to higher time frames and make sure the daily ones are on daily. You know how to do that, right? Say you go to daily, you double click this, you go to visibility, and you make sure it's only there on the daily, right? So this is how you can make sure that your lines and tools, whatever you're drawing, are relevant to that particular time frame. Now when I go to the weekly, the lines will not be there. Now when I go to the weekly, I will have weekly fractal highs and lows, isn't it? And from here also I can draw a couple of them, couple of very clear relevant one is this. And another one that I can think of, which makes sense, is this. If from the weekly time frame I get this line and I get this line, and from the point of view of highs, of course we have already drawn this. It is already been drawn on the daily. Another one that we can draw is like this, but again it's not that relevant right now. We can draw this huge one from this high to this high. This has some run. Again, we need to color it with red. Understood? So this particular aspect of trend lines essentially tries to tell us that can we draw a line and hold on to some kind of a trend or not. Now let's understand something. This is very important. Take a look at this line that I've drawn. This is a line drawn with the lows. It's angling down. So the trend should be down. The trend is down. So is this line and its angle relevant to the current price action? Yes. Let's take a look at this line. We've drawn with these lows. It's angling up. The prices are to the left of it. And the structure, the prices of the move is primarily on the upside. This also is relevant. But then you come and take a look at this and this. Do you think this is relevant? Because it's a downward angling trend line. So it should be giving me resistances. This was one trend down. This was one trend up. So what kind of trend is this trend line trying to hold? I wouldn't say it's a very good trend line, to be honest. So try and draw trend lines which holds on to a trend, a well-defined trend, especially these two. Again, these are subjective things. There's no right trend line and wrong trend line. There's no best trend line. So it's a basic classic concept. It gets the job done. It holds on to a downtrend. It identifies a breakout point, etc., etc. Trend lines can be drawn primarily to figure out if there's any trending nature in price or not. And if we join it using the highs, we tend to get resistances. And if we draw them with the lows, we should get support. My experience has kind of told me that this angular trend lines are very easy to break and they do not bring a lot of conviction to my chart reading. What I'm going to share with you is purely a personal observation. What I do on my charts, you might have seen any of my work, then you would have noticed, I do not draw any trend lines. But I do draw horizontal ranges using this, this tool over here, this rectangle tool. This is one of my favorite tools on the TradingView platform. Now there's a belief behind this. There is an observation. The observation has led to a belief. And the belief is that prices do not find their support at a particular price, but within a certain range, some kind of a zone. It's always a zone. It's not exactly 1340 and next time it will be exactly 1340. No, it might be 1335, it might be 1343. And that's how lows are more or less close or highs are close to each other. And so what I tend to do is I draw these rectangular boxy kind of a range, and I expect that this is a decent support, and I expect in the future it might act as a good support. Now you may not always get a very good fit all the time. If this is for the support, it's a decent fit. I would draw and try, and what I generally try to do is, can I fit in as many fractal highs? I'm trying to put my rectangle a little up and down so that I connect this fractal high and I pull it a little down so that I connect with the other fractal highs, which more or less will give me a range for some clarity. So for me, where the stock is right now at 1405, if I tell you this is the range where the resistance seems to be and this is the range where the support seems to be, it's relevant. It makes sense to what I'm saying at this particular chart. And it's coming from, the analysis is coming out of proper highs and lows, areas where the particular stock had found multiple touch points. You can do this to the higher time frames also. And in this particular chart, in the higher time frame, I clearly see something that is standing out on the upside, which is definitely these multiple fractals. You see how important this particular level has been for Reliance. And at the current juncture, there's no cluster as such. But yeah, we can definitely draw a line like this and leave it. Now this is, I'm just drawing it on Reliance. You can do it on any charts. This is SVI and it stands out very clearly. You can see how important it has been. Take a look at this, Sun Pharma, how important this support can be. So whenever you look at a chart, this is how you will be able to pinpoint multiple supports and resistances. Now, the third point, which is about polarity. Now, polarity is a concept which is very, very important, interesting, and can be useful. Let me try to figure out a nice polarity example for you. There is somewhat on this particular chart. What strikes you? If I ask you, does anything strike you on this particular chart? And you'll say, I see a lot of blue dots here. I see a lot of red dots here. So the blue dots came first. That's the support came first. So in the past, if I had drawn something like this, and I'll give it a blue color so that we understand I'm talking about support. Was this a support area for this particular stock? Yeah, of course, right? And then it got broken. Support broken, trend was up, trend was flat, trend was down, fine. So once that zone was broken, does this area becomes irrelevant, useless, of no particular importance? No, it may have some relevance depending on how many touch points it had in the past. Now this one had a multiple touch points, isn't it? And so I will always stretch it to the right. Okay, and I'm going to give it a nice, I'm going to color code it so that whatever I'm saying will make sense. You'll be able to understand me better. Now what I did was I just extended it from the left to the right. This was a relevant support. This was giving us very good support in the past. And after breaking down, when it finally manages to bounce back, and if it reaches this particular area, this may give us resistance. Means support reversing its role and becoming resistance. This, my friend, is the concept of polarity. This is extremely interesting. You will find it across all time frames, especially on the daily, weekly charts. And if polarity holds, what do I mean by if polarity holds? That is, if this support really changes its role and become resistance, then this area is a very strong resistance and the price may fall hard. Everything, of course, has to be confirmed by price. So if support becomes resistance later in the future, can it be opposite? That is, can resistance become support? Yes, that's especially when you get upside breakouts. I'll just quickly take a look at few without extending too much on this particular concept. When once you had a breakout, a range breakout, it then reverses the role and becomes support. Well, I'm just hovering around in the Reliance chart. I don't see anything right now that well. Over here on Tata Motors, it looks like so. I see quite a bit of a red fractals. I'll just drag it a little lower to connect with this one. And it gave you a breakdown and then you becomes. This was a breakdown, right? So does it work all the time? Of course not. Thankfully not. But these concepts of trend lines, and my personal favorite of these horizontal trend lines. What have I drawn here? It's a horizontal trend line. And it's not just a line. I've given it a little bit of a width, a zone, a range. And so for me, horizontal supports and resistances are much, much more useful. And they also come with this concept of polarity. I hope you found this video useful. Then do let me know, did you like this concept? This should help you to pinpoint important highs and lows. See you in the next video. Till then, take care of yourselves and trade well.